Okay, hello everyone. So what I noticed is that when you all submitted your ACD number one, a lot of you had the same types of questions. So I just wanted to take a few moments, just briefly answer some of those questions. And hopefully for those of you who wrote those, they're helpful. I've noticed that a lot of them were similar to last semester too. So one of the number one questions I get is, how much do social workers make? Is it a livable wage? Because for some of you, you noted in your responses, and I've heard this from many students, you tell family and friends, hey, I want to get a social work job, or I want to be a social worker. And people's first responses, it doesn't pay well. It's a terrible paying job. You're going to make no money, right? So a lot of students want to know, do you make money? Is it a livable wage? Because even though you go into social work often because you either have some past issues and you want to help others, or just you have a heart for service, right? What we find is you're also probably supporting maybe a family, or you have a mortgage, or like many of us who go to graduate school, you got some student loans that you have to deal with. And so having a job that is rewarding but also financially stable is very, very important. So I can't give you a definitive answer per se, but I'm going to give you some numbers and throw out some things based on research I've done, friends I've talked to, positions I've held, and all of that. So there's a couple factors that come into play when you're looking at social work salaries. Typically, it depends on your degree level, right? So if you have a bachelor's in social work, even if you're licensed, you're not going to make as much as a master's degree, right? So a lot of it has to do with your current degree level. There's also job availability. So for a bachelor's in social work, we don't have quite as many jobs, right? You may be able to work like Department of Health and Welfare, child welfare workers can be licensed social workers, which is at LSW, is just a bachelor's in social work. You can do like CBRS, which is community-based rehabilitation services. You might be able to do some like peer support services, or even do some work maybe in a correctional setting. So there are some jobs. You might be able to do some nonprofit work. St. Luke's, the hospitals sometimes have bachelor's level positions doing some wellness stuff. So there's definitely room for bachelor's degrees, and there are jobs out there. Typically, I'm thinking if you work for a nonprofit, you're going to make a little bit less versus a state, county, or for-profit organization, or a not-for-profit, which is what hospitals fall under. So you might make anywhere from, I'm thinking like $19, $20 an hour to $25 an hour, which would be on the high end with a bachelor's degree. So that's going to be like, what, 42 to 52. You might make a little less, maybe 40,000. You might make a little more depending on your experience. But typically in the area of jobs that I've looked at, you're going to see that kind of $19, $20, $21 an hour. You might see a little lower, 15, 16 an hour if you're fresh out of school, or depending on the position you take. But you can definitely, I think, make okay money with our housing market. That may not be as great. Once you get to a master's degree, your earning capacity does jump up quite a bit. So typically, depending on like a state job, if you're going to work child welfare with a master's degree, you might earn 24, 25, 23, 24, 25. Typically, if you work at the hospitals pay very, very well in our area. So you might make anywhere from, I don't know, I want to say 25 to 30 an hour. So that's what, 52 to 62,000 a year. If you're looking at schools, as a school social worker, might make 20, 23, 24, 25 an hour. So it just depends a little bit on where you're working. Sometimes people have a heart for counseling, and you can do counseling with a master's degree. And so billable wise, you might make 25, 26, 27 an hour. So pays pretty well. No, you're not making an engineer's salary, but I mean, it pays better than many people realize. When you get your clinical license, so you've done your bachelor's, you get your master's degree, and then you work for at least minimum of 2 years in the field, and you get clinically supervised. You become an LCSW, so licensed clinical social worker. That's what I have. And that earning capacity jumps up easily 10 to 20,000 above that. So it's not uncommon for people with a clinical license to make anywhere from 60 to 75,000 a year in our field. You might be able to make 80 to 90, depending on if you go into private practice and you see counseling clients. You might make 50, 60, $70 an hour doing that, although it's billable. So you only make it when the clients are there. So that makes it a little less secure. But yeah, it's not uncommon for a clinical social worker to make, $30, $32, $35 an hour, which is about anywhere from 65 to 75,000 a year. So it pays pretty well when you start getting up into doctorate level social work. So if you get a DSW or a PhD in social work, professors make anywhere from 60 to 95,000 a year, depending on what part of the country you live in. So again, summary, are you going to make 150,000 a year? Probably not. But are you going to make a livable wage where you can buy a house? Well, maybe not in Boise area right now, but that you can at least pay a mortgage or part of a mortgage and support your family. Yes, I've found that over the years, I've never wanted, I've always found jobs that pay well. They have good insurance, they're stable. And so, yeah, when someone says, hey, you're going to be in social work and you're going to make $4 an hour, you can remind them that no, many jobs here make 40, 50, 60,000 a year, but it depends on you and how much you're willing to go and how far you're able to go when it comes to, school and all of that. So hopefully this is helpful. I'll answer some more questions throughout the semester.